Hello and welcome to a sequence I'm calling Animal Size. This is inspired by animal poses and animal exercises from the yoga and Pilates worlds, all combined into one fun-filled routine. So what you need is a mat, perhaps some yoga blocks, a towel, furry friend, maybe some pillows, glass of water, awesome attitude. And then let's reach the arms and legs up to the ceiling and start circling the wrists and ankles into dead bug pose. Both directions, 7 or 8 times. Just getting the blood flow going, the circulation happening, and then bring the soles of the feet together into supine butterfly, and we're going to rock this side to side, a little low back massage. And I'm holding the ankles. You can hold the feet, the shins, keeping shoulders down. And then bring the hands to the back of the legs and start rolling like a ball here. Rolling on the spine. This move is going to help us with some other moves, so we're using it as a bit of a preparation move. We've got butterfly, rolling like a butterfly. So back to soles of the feet together, holding the ankles, creating a C-curve shape in the spine, and we're going to roll through the spine to the shoulder blades and come back up for a little balance at the top. Placing the feet down here, let's move into a seated butterfly pose, and I'm just using a block to bring my forehead to rest on top. This allows my neck to relax and stay for a little inhale and exhale. And now I'm just setting up a little bit more cushioning behind me with my towel, because I am going to move into a rocking butterfly with a forehead tap here. This is a bit of a preparatory move for our crab pose at the end of the sequence. So a little forehead tap to the block, or just dropping to the floor if you're not using the block, and then rolling through the butterfly. And we'll hold here and breathe. Elbows just pressing into the inner thighs for a nice stretch through the hips and groin. And then bring those knees hip width apart, feet onto the mat. And we're going to cross one ankle over the opposite knee, flex that top foot, and let's start to twist the hips side to side, bringing one knee down to the floor and then the other knee down. So this is our pigeon modification, seated pigeon. Right now it's a rocking seated pigeon. So I'm leaning back a little bit, hands behind me, elbows a little bit bent. And now I'm going to move into a deeper hip stretch, bringing the hands a little bit closer, pressing into the mat, straightening the arms, lifting the chest, and finding that really great hips and glute stretch. And then let's switch over to the other side. So first we'll start by twisting our seated pigeon, dropping one knee, then the other. Breathing in, breathing out. Keep the chest lifted. And then we're going to bring it right back to the center and bring the hands a little closer. Lift the chest. So the closer that bottom foot is towards you, towards the tailbone, the more you're going to feel. Let's keep the top foot flexed and that baby toe edge of the foot pushing into the leg. And then we'll slowly release. And I'm going to set up the towel for a little bit more spinal cushioning. We're going to do a little bit of seal from the Pilates world. So bring those hands through the center just to wrap around the outer edges of the ankles and heels. Then find your seated balance. We're going to tap the toes together 3 times. Roll through the spine, 3 little taps at the back, and see if you can hold the seated balance for the next 3 taps. And use the core to stop the momentum of the seal. Balance with your tap, tap, tap. Roll through the spine. Little moment of a tap, tap, tap at the very back. Good job. And keep your seated balance. Reposition the hands to the hamstrings and see if you can straighten the legs and flex the feet as we move into bear pose. You can hold the calves, the ankles, the toes, the bottom of the feet. I want you to keep lifting heart, lifting collarbone, and take those feet a little bit wider than the width of the mat and see if we can start to really lift the collarbone up, looking up. So there's very little rounding in your low back, if any. Hold, breathe, and balance, and then let's release the bear. Back into a tabletop balance just for a moment. And then crossing one leg over the other. Let's see if we can line these knees up one on top of the other. And keep the feet in the same line so that one foot is not closer to your hips than the other. So this takes me a little bit of shifting from side to side. Feet flexed, baby toe edges pressing down into the floor. Let's stretch those arms out wide to the side and wrapping one arm over the other. Let's see if we can interlace or bring those palms together or interlace a thumb or a finger here into our cow face eagle arms pose. Exhale and drop the elbows towards that knee. Inhale to bring it back up. And slowly release the arms, and let's take it into a twist so that the opposite arm to that top knee. And then let's switch the legs. I am using my arms to help me align the knees as close to being stacked as possible. And flex the feet. They're on the same line with each other. Try to sit right up on top of those sit bones. Arms to a T-shape, palms down. And we're going to fold the other arm underneath. Trying to find the palms, pressing into each other. Inhale, lift the elbows. Exhale, see if we can tap the elbows down to the top knee. A little forward bend in our cow face eagle arm pose. Inhale, sit tall, lift the arms up, and stretch the arms out to the side, and let's twist the other way. So arm to opposite knee, using that arm to leverage a deeper twist. Looking behind you, breathing in, and breathing out, release the twist. And let go of those legs. We're going to move into hands and knees starting position for our cat and cow pose. Curling the toes under, rounding the back, arching the spine. Exhale to round. Inhale to arch. Feel the movement of the spine and try to initiate this move from the spine. Tailbone drops as you round. Tailbone lifts as you extend or arch. Going to keep the toes curled. And we're going to lift up into downward facing dog. So I've got my heels a little bit lifted away from the floor, tailbone high to the sky. And I want you to shrug the shoulders and then release the shrug. And I want you to try to do this without bending your elbows, without changing your elbows. So you'll feel the shoulder blades gliding up and down the back, and then just shaking the head from side to side with a little neck release in down dog. We're going to walk the feet a little bit closer to the hands to prepare for a crow balance. So bending the knees wide, kind of like a leapfrog position, really dropping the chest down, bending the elbows and positioning those knees on top of the triceps. Looking forward, a few inches from the fingertips, focus and see if you can lift the feet from the floor, even for a moment, before stepping back into downward facing dog. Breathe in, bend the knees, exhale, straighten the legs. Inhale, bend, exhale, straighten, tailbone to the sky. Keep that side body nice and long. I'm letting my hands slide and glide forward a few inches to drop into a plank. And we're going to slowly move into upward dog, bringing the knees down to the ground, pointing the toes, and letting the chest move forward, through, and up. And if you like, you can shrug the thighs and float the knees above the ground into upward facing dog. Or feel free to keep the knees down. And then we're going to lower all the way down onto our abdominals in a prone position. And set up for Pilates swan. So I've got my legs a little wider into what I call penguin stance, toes pointed, and we're going to exhale, press up into swan, and inhale, bend those elbows and lengthen lower back down. Let's try to not move the shoulders, but rather stabilize the shoulders in place at the bottom of the move, throughout the move, at the top of the move as well. Exhale to press, little inhale at the top, exhale to lower. Let's bring the abdominals with us as we press up, we bring the ribs into the spine, we look over that shoulder at the top, one side then the other, then glancing to the sky, and lower down. A nice abdominal stretch through that swan sequence. Now bringing the legs a little bit closer, we're going to move into yoga locust pose. So let's point the toes and shrug the legs away from the floor. Long legs, reach the arms, same direction as the legs, and then open the arms to a T and the legs wider than the mat. So we're going to inhale, open the arms and legs a little wider, and exhale, bring them back in. Stack the hands, bring them to the forehead, and just bend the knees and let the legs sway side to side. Little low back release here. Coming up just into Sphinx pose, just for a moment, not necessarily an animal, but definitely a transition move. We're going to float up into elbow plank. Breathing in, breathing out. I'm going to pike those hips up a little higher, make space for the knees to drop down, and just take a small breath in, breath out as we sit back to the heels. Coming up into a higher kneeling position. We're going to inhale, bring one foot forward, and I really like using the blocks on either side. You're going to widen that foot so that the same side arm can move to the inner edge of the foot. And I like using the block just to bring the floor a little bit closer as I bend the elbows, dropping down. Moving into lizard lunge. If you want, you can just bring the elbows down to the mat, but if you find that your spine is too rounded, then it's nice to use the block so that your spine is a little bit more neutral. And pushing that hand into the knee, I'm letting the foot roll open just to get a little twist, and then weaving the hand underneath and binding the hands together as I lift that bottom knee up away from the mat, or feel free to keep the knee down. Quite a deep stretch through the hips, thighs, and we'll bring the palms back to the mat. And I love using a block underneath the hamstring as we slowly and encouragingly move into monkey pose, or in other words, the splits. Just toe walking, that front foot forward, maybe flexing the foot. And you can use 2 blocks, you can use 5 blocks, however many blocks or pillows you need under that front hamstring to help you find your alignment in monkey pose. And if you can, we'll interlace the fingers and we'll really stretch the arms, pressing palms to the sky, looking up, breathing in victoriously, and exhale, release. Take your time coming out of this very intense monkey pose. And I'm just shaking the hips side to side a little bit just to let it go, let it go. Inhale, leg number 2. Big step forward into a lunge. Just taking a breath at the top, starting to prepare for lizard pose on side number 2. So widening the front foot to make room for both hands to drop to the inside of that front foot. I like to use the block and bring my elbows down, and then just pressing into that knee, creating a little bit of rotation in the trunk of my body, looking up, getting great stretch through the hips and glutes, and then squeeze that leg in closer to the shoulder as we bind the arms, weaving that same side arm under and around to intertwine with the opposite hand. Option to lift the back knee away from the mat, curling the toes into the ground, and try to keep your spine a little bit towards neutral. I know it's really, really easy to round the back here in lizard pose. Releasing will bring the palms to the mat and setting up with a block underneath that front hamstring, or pillows work as well. And I'm just starting to walk the toes forward, then flex the foot and make some contact with the hamstring and that block. And then I'm starting to move my shoulders back so that they're not in front of the hips, but they're aligned on top of the hips. And if you feel like you want to interlace the hands and reach the palms to the sky nice and high, looking up, breathing in. Probably feeling this one everywhere. Slowly releasing like a champion and taking your time to lift the hips and slide that leg back. Nice work. Taking the knees a little bit wider than the hips and using our blocks to generate deeper stretch in our chest. Sitting back to the heels. Breathe in. Breathe out. And we're going to move into frog pose. And I like to really be very sensitive with my knees. So I use pillows underneath my kneecaps here because the knees are going wider than your yoga mat. And you're trying to bring your feet, your heels, right underneath your knees. So I don't want the heels close to each other. I want them the same width as your knees. Careful your hips are not too far forward. Try to keep the hips in the same alignment with the knees. And you can stay up on your palms, neutral spine. I'm actually doing a little arch in the back and then rounding the back. So I'm adding a cat and cow to the frog pose. Triple animal sequence in effect. If you can, try dropping down to your elbows and just let the hips and the pelvis give in a little bit to gravity as you breathe calmly in frog pose. I'm using a block under my forehead just to release any neck tension. So the neck's not working too hard here with the head dangling. Keep the breath flowing. Be free, be fun like a frog. And then bringing the palms back to the mat. You're going to use a little bit of arm strength to help you gently, slowly, carefully come out of frog pose. And then just looking over one shoulder, letting the hips twist a little. This is called wag the tail. Just a little hip release, low back release. It's coming up into a high kneeling position here. We're going to move into camel pose. Curling the toes under, and I'm rolling the shoulders up, back, and down just to start to get my arms behind my body where I can interlace the palms and press and reach the arms away from the tailbone. Looking up to the sky, lifting the heart up high. If you want, let the head drop and get that nice throat chakra opener. Let the hips press forward, deep abdominal stretch, and from camel, we're going to bow forward into rabbit. So I've set up a pillow for my forehead, crown of the head, and reaching the arms to the sky. So much energy lifting up, 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 so that there's not so much pressure dropping down into the neck and forehead. So let those arms really be active. Let the tailbone really be lifted. Hips on top of knees. Breathe, 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 and then slowly sit back to the heels and just take that child's pose for a moment. Releasing arms. Let's slowly come to a seated position on your mat for our final few animal sequences. We're going to do a modified crab pose from the world of Pilates. The full expression of the Pilates crab is quite intricate. So we're going to make this a little bit more accessible. Crossing at the ankles. I have added some more cushioning behind me for my spine. And I'm just holding the cross of the ankles in this seated balance. And I'm going to switch the cross. So one foot is on top and then the other foot is on top. And this is going to be an action that you're going to see. As we roll back, we switch the cross of the ankles and then we come forward into a cross-leg position and we're bowing forward over those cross legs, letting the forehead tap down to a block. And we roll back and we switch the cross of the ankles. We come into a seated position into our bow. Let's breathe. Exhale to roll back. Inhale at the top. Exhale to bow. Inhale to prepare. So this rocking motion really energizing and invigorating for our spine, and some people really love it. We're going to hold the seated forward fold. Reaching the arms straight if you can, palms down, breath in. Let the breath travel down the spine to the low back, tailbone. And then walk the hands in. Let's slowly roll up, sitting tall, and moving into our final animal/human. This is our segue back into the world of humans, the mermaid exercise from Pilates. Folding one leg forward and the other leg folded to the side and back. We're just going to arch the back forward and round the spine back. So it's mixing our cat and our cow with our mermaid. And I'm just actually doing a little extra cushioning for my ankle bone here because I'm sensitive. Stretch the arms to the side in a T shape. Look at the legs and the feet, and we're going to reach up and over the legs first. And then we're going to stretch and reach away from the legs, dropping down to that bottom elbow if you like. Now we're trying to keep the spine neutral, so not arching, not rounding, but we're just flexing at the side body, reaching over the legs, stretching away from the legs. Breathe in, breathe out. Come back to the center and interlace the fingers and stretch to the sky nice and high. Find length and release like a graceful mermaid that you are. And side number 2. So I am sitting up on a pillow here, just so my hips feel a little bit more even, a little bit more level. And doing that arch spine forward and that rounded back posture here, find the happy middle. Inhale, the arms open to a T. Looking at the feet, we're going to take it over the legs to start. Option to look up to the sky here in our side bend. And then switching the other way, dropping to the elbow. Nice side body opener. Let's try one more time. And bring it back to the center, palms up. Inhale, lengthen from the side bodies, out of those hips, up to the palms, crown of the head, lift, lift, lift. And exhale, release, all the way down. Let your mermaid go. Come into a nice seated position and inhale those arms up and exhale, down. Inhale up. Long, lengthening exhale down. Lots of animal poses and animal exercises accomplished today, so hopefully you got in tune with your inner animal a little bit more and strengthened your core and stretched your body. And until next time.